And you're listening to The Breakfast Show here on Faith FM. We're just chucking our headphones on in the studio, and I'm sitting across, I'm so excited. I'm sitting across from Joy Butler, and we are going to be talking about the WCTU, or the Women's Christian Temperance Union, which, you don't understand. When Joy walked in the studio this morning, and because I don't know Joy, I've just met you this morning, haven't I, Joy?
You have.
And when you walked in this morning, I was like, hey, so what are you from? What are you representing? I didn't know what was the interview for this morning. You're like, Women's Christian Temperance Union. Yes. I was like, yes, this is amazing. I'm so excited to talk about this. Because, mate, we're talking about history. We're talking about, incredible history of, temperance and abolition and all these things. Now, Joy, as I've been hyping you up here in the studio, I'm so glad to see you. And to talk about the WCTU, a movement that is steeped in history of educating the world about the blessings of temperance. Yes. Tell us about it. So, firstly, I'd like to get to know you, Joy. Right. Where are you from? What are you about? Where have you been?
Well, I'm from New Zealand originally, long time ago, and I came here to Newcastle to Avondale College originally, and I've been a missionary in the Pacific Islands, Papua New Guinea and Samoa, and in Africa for a long time. Yeah, and now I'm supposed to be retired.
Supposed to be retired, but not retired. Well, you're retired, but participating in the WCTU. What is your position in that organization?
Yes, well, I've been in it for about 20 or more years now. And at the moment, I'm the president for Australia, WCTU.
Wow. Okay, president for Australia, the WCTU.
And I'm a field worker. They call a field worker for the Pacific and for Africa, because I know lots of people in both those areas, and I've lived there, a number of countries. So I have contacts there. So we also have a presence in a number of countries in the Pacific and Africa.
So WCTU, tell us about it. What is the objective here? What are you guys trying to achieve?
Well, we're all about for God, home, and humanity. And we really started in 1874 in America. That soon spread and came to Australia, to Sydney actually, 1882.
Yeah, wow.
And we soon had thousands of people joining us because they were really speaking up for women's issues and for the whole subject of alcohol, which was so bad at the time. There were no support for women. There were no support anyway for widows or those who'd had struggles, and many men were drinking lots of alcohol, taking away all the money. The others couldn't buy food, couldn't educate their children.
Wow.
And so they began to speak up, and they prayed. The first thing they did was pray together, and God just opened the way for them to make amazing difference in their communities.
So we're dropping into like the 1870s here in America with this situation that essentially alcohol, and particularly we're looking at a post-Civil War America, quite a lot of PTSD and struggle. And we could probably consider the Civil War up until that point one of the deadliest wars that the world had ever seen, because of the real use of, both sides having incredible weaponry and this kind of thing. We're seeing lots of death, lots of struggle, lots of heartache that galvanized the United States of America into what it is today as a United States of America. But simultaneously, there was a lot of pain and hurt. And in a context like the 1870s, people are turning to the bottle.
I think they were. And so this made it very hard for families who were breaking up.
Yeah.
And couldn't feed the children, couldn't educate them. So really it all began with a doctor called Dr. Theo Lewis. And he was in America, and he became a doctor, and he came from a very difficult home where his father had been drinking, very alcoholic, and his mother prayed. And he saw the difference. The father was changed, became a Christian, and gave up all of that. And the home was quite changed. So he told the women when he grew up, you need to be praying about the men in your homes as they were just being wrecked. He said, get together and pray. So they began a whole prayer ministry. Wow. And out of that grew this emphasis to just speak up and to go to the pubs or the hotels in the streets and tell the men who owned the pubs to pour out the beer into the street. They didn't want their husbands drinking this alcohol. And so some did, because some objected to that.
Yeah.
But they got so organised, they became an organisation and called themselves the WCTU.
Okay, amazing. So from the early 1800s, late 1800s, early years for the WCTU, they were over here in Australia already. Yes. What did that spread look like?
Well, the spread, it started in Sydney in 1882, and that soon spread to Victoria and other states, but Victoria really took it on. They became very strong. They had thousands and thousands of members down there, and we had 18,000 members for WCTU. I think in the 1930s it grew and grew. It's somewhat diminished since then, but they did a great work during the beginning of the 1900s.
Yeah. Okay, beginning of the 1900s, and I mean, that would have some far-reaching political
Well, it actually did.
consequences as
Even
well.
before that, let me tell you, in New Zealand, where I come from, we're very proud of WCTU there because some of the leaders campaigned for women's able to vote. The suffrage movement was very strong in New Zealand, and so New Zealand actually gained the vote for women in 1893, which is remarkable.
Yeah. Wow. 1893.
And because of WCTU, they believed that if they could help vote and help in the government, they could speak up for these issues and talk about alcohol and what was happening. And they did.
Yeah.
It made a big difference in New Zealand, and they're still going in New Zealand.
Yeah, still going. And I mean, speak up they did, and effects they did have, by the 1920s in the US, we then have, prohibition coming in of alcohol and, and enforced, restriction of drinking and whatnot, a ban on alcohol, which is very interesting, very controversial.
Yes. But it actually was a good thing because the crime rate was much lowered. Domestic violence was less. A lot of good things about prohibition.
Yeah.
Other countries too did the same thing. They almost got it in New Zealand and Australia, but they didn't win on that one. But of course America did for that time. It made a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is kind of, if we look at the legacy of the WCTU and the things that they've achieved, they've been great and far sweeping and wide. And I'd love to know, because when I think of the Women's Christian Temperance Union, I think of the amazing history. Like, firstly, because in the early 1800s, you had temperance movements rising at this time, and that developing against one of those developments was eventually the WCTU. We then see abolition and prohibition and all of these various things pop up throughout history. Where do we stand today in terms of WCTU and how the movement's going, what it's trying to achieve, and as for you as the president of that movement and trying to push it forward, into the new kind of scary age that we're in now, 2025.
Well, at the moment, the big issue around the world is our illicit drugs.
Yeah,
and I was just involved in a webinar from America last night, actually, where they're speaking about it's just enormous. And this World Federation Against Drugs, WFAD in America, are very strong on helping to prevent the drug issue from getting going in a person's life to begin with. They want to speak up have drug awareness so we know what it's about and what's happening, and then to help prevent young people from getting involved. This is very big, and WCTU takes this on.
Yeah.
We do a lot of drug education in schools, especially in Victoria and Australia. It's doing a wonderful work. It's been going for more than 50 years, educating children. We produce newsletters. For instance, I have a couple in front of me.
Yeah.
There's one here called White Ribbon Signal, been going for 130 years in Australia. I'm the editor at the moment, and we speak about drugs, alcohol and tobacco. Actually, I call them the sad poisons, I should say. Smoking, alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
That's the emphasis that we have. We talk about that. We talk in schools. We have radio programs, and we have these newsletters. We have literature we give out everywhere we can. We now have signs on buses.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
we have that in 4 states, Victoria, in South Australia, New South Wales, and Northern Territory. Hopefully soon in West Australia. That's been a big thing for that.
How are you guys going? I'd love to ask. Sorry to consider.
I could talk about this a great deal, as you can hear.
Absolutely. I'd love to know how you guys are going with kind of as drugs and alcohol consumption, particularly is modernizing. I think especially like with an issue like vaping and whatnot. How are you guys taking steps and forays into that area?
Yes, well, vaping we have helped make a difference. We have produced 2 or 3 brochures about this. I'm amazed at how popular they have been. Wherever we place those brochures, they get taken. Young people think about this and know about this. As well as that, we have a person called a citizen advocate.
Okay.
And she speaks to the government for us, and she's spoken to the government on this issue, right? And that has helped Mark Butler, our Minister for Health, make a difference on the vaping issue for Australia. It actually has gone down.
Yeah, wow. Amazing. I know legislation's come out in Australia regarding vaping and disposable vaping, nicotine vapes, all that kind of thing. And it great to see that those steps are being taken.
And we've had a part in that.
Yeah.
As
amazing.
we have for blood testing alcohol levels for driving, we had a big part in helping that all to happen. And I believe that no smoking on aeroplanes, because of WCTU speaking up, that helped that to happen.
Wow. Okay, so we can look at all of this incredible legislation, and truly incredible legislation. Like, I am such a fan of these things because I personally, as a former drinker myself and someone who's been sober for almost 10 years now, I can say that, you know, these kinds of resources and this kind of support is stuff that help me personally. I'm not a woman or a Christian, so I wasn't.
You're a Christian.
Well, I am a Christian. I am not a woman. I should say.
I'm a Christian woman.
I'm not a Christian woman. I'm a Christian man,
and we need your support.
Absolutely. I think what I was trying to get at was, I don't think at the time the WCTU was super visible to me, but the change that you guys were making and the steps that you were taking in the education that was out there, that is what got to me, as well as. And I think what's really amazing about your ministry as well, and what you described earlier, was the prayers of people and the Word of God.
Yes, it's all based on prayer. And we believe that the main thing is if people can find Jesus Christ through in life, this will make a big difference to their alcohol, their sad poisons issues. They won't want to drink. They won't want to smoke. They won't want to take drugs, because Jesus is the answer to everything.
Absolutely. Amen. So, we have about a minute left in our interview this morning. Is there anything that you want to leave us with, information, perspective, something that would be really important for us to take from this, how we can support you guys as well?
Well, we would love more people to join us. And you can do this by going online. We have quite a comprehensive website. We have a presence on Facebook, on Instagram and Pinterest. But we'd love to have you join us, any woman who's listening. And to have children, especially to teach children these issues, and have this newsletter. You can find us on wctu.org.au. It's quite simple.
Yeah, absolutely. wctu.org.au. Joy, thank you so much for joining us this morning, giving us perspective on these issues, and that people are trying to make a difference. I think it's incredibly encouraging. And maybe you're listening this morning and you're thinking, hey, well, I want a difference made in my life. Give us a text, 0491 064 669, and we can get you in touch with the relevant people who can help out.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.